South Africa's Minister of Fisheries, Forestry and Environment, Dion George, is expected to lose his job soon following a proposal from his political party, the Democratic Alliance, to have him replaced with its spokesperson, Willie Aucamp. George reportedly turned down an offer to serve as Deputy Trade Minister. Let's talk more about this with environment journalist Don Pinnock, who has written, in fact, extensively on what could be driving this move to get George out of that ministry. Good evening to you, Don. Thank you so much for being on the SABC. You, in fact, write in your latest piece that you believe that what's going on here, the seemingly imminent sacking of Dion George, is basically a byproduct of what you term the hijacking of the National Elephant Heritage Strategy. What is that strategy, and why would it ultimately cost him his job?
Hi. First of all, I wonder if you guys could turn up the volume because I can hardly hear you. The heritage strategy is a very good strategy. It's been developed with a lot of consultation with people across the country. And its key issues around elephants anyway is environmental resilience, connecting elephants and landscapes to biodiversity. It's about social cohesion, recognizing elephants within their spiritual and cultural values, and economic inclusion, equitable benefit sharing from conservation economies. The problem is that was all decided and it was pretty good to go, but then the deputy minister decided to have an elephant in Daba in a fairly remote place in KwaZulu-Natal. He invited lots of people at the last minute. Most of the people who went were in the breeding and hunting facilities, and they put together a kind of memorandum which got tacked on to the National Elephant Heritage Strategy, which kind of undermines it. It allows greater access to culling, even to hunting. And so that's part of the problem. And that's part of the process of seemingly shifting the Department of Environment and Forestry and Fisheries into a position which is more in line with breeders who are objecting to things like the closing of lion breeding facilities, the sale of lion bones, and even export of ivory.
Right. So is there, Don, and I'm hoping you can hear me better now, but is there credible proof to support the belief that ultimately Dion George's exit or the imminent removal from cabinet is being engineered by breeders who are perhaps pulling the strings behind the scenes politically?
You know, that's what concerns me, which is why I wrote the piece. I think Dion George is, he's okay as an environmental minister. He's struggled to catch up because that's not his main thing. He's left quite a lot to sing, but he hasn't been too bad. He's done quite a lot of good things as a minister. And he's been pushed out on the basis of what they call underperforming. Now, he's one of the best performing ministers in the cabinet, so underperforming is not the reason. The reason is that he's pushing hard to close down lion breeding facilities, to block and stop the sale of lion bones, the sale of rhino horn. And in doing that, I think he's put a target on his back. The concerning thing is that a small group of people in the wildlife industry have managed to get their views so deep into cabinet, actually, into the Department of Environmental Affairs and into cabinet. That's my concern. It amounts to a form of state capture in a way.
But the difficulty, I'm glad you made the state capture reference, is that if we don't have credible evidence that that is what is going on, it becomes a hard case, a difficult case to substantiate.
Well, Dion George is about to be fired. That's pretty hard to, that's substantiating a lot. The fact that the elephant heritage strategy is clearly being undermined, there's no doubt about that. They pushed it through Parliament as a single document, then it is two documents which are actually opposed to each other. That's quite a high level of evidence. And the fact that the new man, Willie Aucamp, who's being flighted as the next minister, is deeply involved in wild animal breeding and would obviously favour the faction which is objecting to Dion George. So there are a lot of connections in this process. So I'm not laying my head in the block, but all those things are pretty circumstantial evidence.
So, based on what you are then suggesting, alleging, and what the DA says is a move to have Dion George sacked due to underperformance, being an underwhelming member of cabinet, where does that leave the president then? Because ultimately, the decision on cabinet reshuffles is up to him.
It is up to him. I'm not in the political field, I'm in the environmental field. So anything I say on what happens between Ramaphosa, Steenhuisen and Dion George is pure speculation. It is up to the president. It's unlikely that he would not agree to removing Dion George, because if he did, it's likely that George could be removed from the DA, and then he wouldn't have a right to be a minister anyway. So I think that's probably a fait accompli. I'm not sure what President Ramaphosa would do, but I can't see he has an easy way around this.
Don Pinnock, good to talk to you. Don is an environment journalist speaking to us about the imminent removal of Dion George, member of the Democratic Alliance, his own party now writing to the president, asking that he be sacked from cabinet and replaced by its national spokesperson, Willie Aucamp. We'll get you all the latest on this story as it continues to develop, no doubt, over the coming days. You're watching The Full View on SABC News.